what we've done and perpetuated when it comes to relationship and marriage partnership is creating ties that say, I want to possess you. I want to be possessed by you. I want you to be possessed by me. And we can have true love if we actually remove that. A lot more openness and open-heartedness if we remove that. Also a lot more energy back to ourselves and all the other areas of our life if we remove that. That dynamic isn't supporting us. It's often coming from a trauma response, and you can go into the psychology of that and do some self-analyzing and also speak to a licensed professional to understand where did this origin story begin of obsession, of romanticizing another person as a savior, as something that's not just another flawed human being. Why do we do that to authority figures and put them in pedestals and believe that some people are superior to us? Why do we put people at a certain age? Get it, when you're a child, you're a child. As you graduate and your consciousness hopefully up levels, your frontal lobe is developed, you know that people are just human. They're just human beings. No matter how spiritually evolved they are, myself included, people are just people. We have light and dark, and that's an undeniable truth of the human experience. Can you love somebody? And can you love yourself for more of the darkness, for more of the ways that you experience your bad side? Previous video on honor your bad. Little outfit. Okay. Hey you, I'm Anissa. Welcome to Create to Liberate. Today's video is about the dark side or shadow side of idealization of a partner. This is for those who go through a pattern of obsession with a partner, idealization of a partner, infatuation with a partner, maybe even before they become a solidified partner. Maybe you just met this person, gone on a few dates. Whether you grew up in romantic comedy world or you watched a lot of storylines in Hollywood, there's a lot of emphasis on romanticizing people that we do not know, complete strangers. And there's a light side to it, which is the beauty of living, right? To just be storytellers, to move through the world with a level of open-heartedness, glass half full mindset. And then there's also a shadow side to this behavior. And it's really helpful to understand the shadow side because it's not normalized and often viewed as being a pessimist or being less romantic. As always, I share wisdom from my own lived experience, as I believe we're all each other's mirrors. We provide a mirror to each other to be able to see ourselves more clearly and ideally empower each other. Take what you need and leave the rest. If you enjoy this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and give a 5-star review on Spotify. We're trying to grow here, and your support makes that happen. Without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to cover this topic in 4 parts. First, starting off with the allure of idealization / the normalization of idealization. If you met somebody that you're so excited about, it's natural because you have this sexual connection, spiritual connection. There's something that's creating a vibrance and resonance between you and this person. It's also very normalized in our culture to meet somebody and see the best in them, especially in the romantic context. We don't do this with friendship, but because many of us grew up with media normalizing romance as something that we see at first sight, that we feel intuitively, then it can just feel natural to put somebody on a pedestal. When we don't know somebody, we can build them up in our minds. We can project upon them the qualities that we most love about them / love about ourselves. It's really easy to create that projection and that illusion. We can think the best of them, and then we also might extend that fantasy far too long, which becomes the dark side, shadow side of idealization of a partner, of somebody romantic, because in that extension of fantasy, we don't notice red flags. We do not notice things that are not in alignment with what we perceived to be the truth of that person. So I've gone through this so many times in dating, and I think it's part of my dharma to really learn and gain mastery over this side of life, because I love this quality about myself when it comes to so many other areas of life, but it's not served me particularly well in romantic relationship. There's so much behind this that can be connected to trauma, and I'm not going to go so deeply into the trauma rabbit hole that is correlated with that idealization, but the long short of it is desire for there to be a level of a savior, a level of a relief from the monotony, the suffering of our own lives. For now, I'll leave it at that. If you find yourself in a cycle of getting really wrapped up in somebody that you just met and imagining a future together, future tripping, if you find yourself in a cycle of seeing the ways that you and them were supposed to meet and it just makes complete sense, the destiny that's ahead for you too, and you don't really know them very well. If you're already painting a story, filling out the outline of who they are, you do not have the information to fill out that outline. You might just know that a person cares about family, and you don't know the truth of that situation, you might find out that it's not actually accurate, cross-cancel on a truth that you thought was real. People show themselves to us over time, and sometimes there's a reason that we're rushing. There's this impatience because we're seeking love, and that love obviously just exists within us, and it's us projecting that out, and that's a beautiful thing. Imagine a world if all that energy that you spent over this lifetime projecting that love out was also turned within you and shared with more people, more places, more things. Do you know how liberated the world would be? It would probably be like your friends are living their best life, and the level of upliftment that can come from that is exponential compared to focusing that energy on one potential person who is just a flawed human being at the end of the day. And we're dropping into part 2, the downside of projection. When you project upon another person, not only do you build them up into a fantasy, put them on a pedestal, see them in divine light, you also, yes, ignore their downsides, but create a lot of tension. You create a power dynamic, unrealistic expectations. You're putting this person in a position that they didn't want to be in. You are inevitably putting them in a standing that they're going to topple down from, that they're going to fall from. And when they fall from your high level of expectation into the normal realm of disappointment because they're a human being, it's going to feel a lot harder than it needs to. When you meet this person that you went on a date with and you go on date 2, it's going to feel a lot harder because date 1, you put them on a pedestal, date 2, you saw the truth in them. And then there's this incongruency that feels a lot more dramatic than if you just witnessed in date 1, oh, they're telling me a little bit about themselves. I'm just going to leave that on pause, focus on myself, my own life, and resume for date 2 where I can get more filled in information. And then as you have date 2, you're like, oh, okay, I guess there's some things that are not aligning, and I feel at peace releasing this connection, though it was wonderful to actually get to know this real person rather than this, and then topples into this, and now there's all this stress because of the incongruency. So there's that factor, and then there's the reality of resentment that harbors within a person. I was going through this week a recognition that I needed to do additional heart clearing. I was like, how do I get to this place? I feel like I'm emotionally available. Come on. I've been going out. I've been doing the thing. I've been meeting people. I've been trying to open my heart up. Why am I still facing this truth that I'm a little bit emotionally unavailable? And it's because we can have so many instances historically, hopefully, of this incongruency, of this imbalance that we experience, being more disappointed, being more jaded, being more resentful than we're being honest with ourselves. Maybe that lives within us, within our heart, creates blockages. And so when the truth of that spills out, it's like, I just want to move through the world and meet somebody I connect with. But first we have to do the heart clearing, and we have to honor that the ways that we've been operating haven't supported us in having more of an open-hearted state continually and sustainably. You want to live in a way where you don't build resentment for people by allowing people to be flawed from the beginning, by allowing people to be their true selves, by taking things in the present moment step by step rather than future tripping. And what you do when you future trip, you also eliminate the possibility for genuine connection. The beauty of life comes from the awe, from the surprise of learning who a person is, not by obsessing over one person and trying to get to know all their inner world crevices. All that creates an imbalance again in intimacy. You want there to be a fair exchange. You want there to be a stepping forward, one person, then the other, then the next, then the other. So you're always meeting each other in the here and now present, rather than this person's running a marathon and the other person doesn't even have time to start catching up. And obviously there's exceptions where somebody has an extremely avoidant attachment style and somebody has a very anxious attachment style, but assuming that both people are moving at a secure, healthy attachment style, then there's footing that just makes sense to be seeing each other more clearly step by step and allowing the picture to be filled in and loving the picture that you're seeing, whether it has lights and darks, there's disappointment about the other person or not, they're just not massive and glaring. And that has to do with pacing, but it also has to do with the quality of character of the person that you're spending time with. Now, getting into the shadow side of this projection, of this ability to obsess and spiral, it also reflects something that we do towards ourselves. Why can you not allow yourself to embrace your imperfection? Why do you have to envision that this person is perfect? You're not perfect. How can you love more of the parts of yourself that are imperfect rather than projecting on other people that they're going to be this dissolving force and create this ease in your life? How can you embrace more of the parts of yourself that you want to cultivate and develop in this lifetime? Oftentimes, when we become so cerebral, we're not dropped back into our bodies. I love to talk about the somatic way of moving through the world because we just are spending time online and we're thinking and we're planning and we're talking to friends, and we can stay so cerebral. And sometimes we just need to take a breath and drop into our bodies. We need to take a walk and get out into nature. We need to start doing things that make us feel a part of the world rather than staying in a mental, illusory fantasy land. We need to get out into the exercise of really being among people. I do not see human beings as anything that you can elevate once you spend more time with them. You do not see that. But what you do see when you spend time around good people is a very truthful, very in integrity, very strong charactered choices that people make despite having flaws. And that is so lovable and that is so powerful. There's something in people who create fantasy around others and what it also means about our inability to accept our own imperfection, right? How can we just sit with more of our idiosyncrasies? What ways are we imperfect human beings? What ways can we love ourselves more for that imperfection rather than trying to push it away? We wouldn't want somebody to obsess over us. It just feels a little suffocating, like we couldn't do wrong when inevitably we will. And the more that we can get to a place where we embrace more of our idiosyncrasies, our flawedness, our imperfectedness, the more that we'll welcome somebody who's just human, who's flawed and dynamic, and we also love them for that. To love somebody for the truth of who they are rather than the projection, the fantasy, is a really healthy place to get to. And going into part 4, getting to a place of cultivating healthy relationships really does begin with ourselves. And so often we just want to meet somebody who will save us from cycles of dating the wrong people or unhealthy habits. Whatever it is that this person feels like an escape from is where we need to create the healing first. And we can create healing within a relationship, obviously, but I've had the experience of having to learn to cultivate more internally the experiences that I want to have externally. If I want more of a peaceful, loving environment surrounding me, then I have to create more of that peaceful dedication within myself. My tolerance for chaos becomes greater when I'm operating in chaotic ways, quite literally. But as we allow ourselves to operate in more peaceful, more compassionate, more slow, mindful ways, we also are going to build relationships with people who have that pacing intentionality, will be a vibrational match for that. It helps me to understand why we develop these unrealistic expectations of people. And there's a beauty to that romanticizing of a human being. It makes great storytelling. It's something we've seen in movies. It does feel like a form of escapism from a darker world where there is suffering. And so when we see this person, we get excited. We see a light in them. We see potential. We see a future that we maybe couldn't have envisioned if we were alone and just focused on what does life look like with just me. And so when we have this person in our life, we can future trip because we can finally see the potentials that we desire to live out. How can we maintain that belief in potentiality even when it's just us? How can you know that you're so whole and the potentials remain infinite for you where you are now as yourself? Oftentimes there's a little bit of our ego that's attached to this meeting of the person because we have a lack of self-belief in us and that potential for our futures as we are without that person, or whether it's out that person, insert another person. Engaging with more open communication and self-reflection, whether with friends, a licensed therapist, family, anyone, even just with yourself, writing and reflecting. When you notice yourself catching yourself, telling yourself stories about somebody that you do not know and starting to spin out, how can you notice it sooner? How can you regulate that side of self? And it might still arise and you might be like, oh, that's a beautiful little fantasy. How can we come back to the present? I want to reclaim my energy now. I want to reclaim my energy now. I want to bring my attention to things that I can impact now in my life. I want to invest in my friendships. I want to invest in my future. However you need to speak to yourself that's compassionate, loving, and also bringing and reclaiming your power and attention here to you, because that can build. When you obsessed about somebody who is spiraling and circling in a circle, that will have an endless rotation until you decide to put it down. or that person disappoints you, and then you put them underground and you're like, they were the worst and they were just human. It's so exciting to see what we love about another person because it shows us what we love about ourselves. And maybe in building healthier relationships and moving forward, you start celebrating and moving forward with the things that you love about yourself. For instance, for me, I used to be attracted to so many creative men who are really good at expressing their creativity, and I still am, because I think, and this ties into what I was going to mention, basically our creative energy. It's our life force energy, and the more that we are able to express that, the more that we are actually moving this energy through us, and we're more opportunities to be in flow. There's more opportunities for us to be in alignment. This energy, if it is stifled, our creative energy, it can manifest in really shadowy, dark ways. It also, in the case of most heterosexual men, I'll speak generally and broadly, they're not told that they need to tap into their feminine and creative energy. And that energy is often channeled towards sexuality, actually. So a lot of men think that sexual fulfillment will be satisfying to them. And the truth of that is a lot of that sexual energy was meant to be creative energy, was meant to be life force energy, to be channeled in way more impactful ways than just ejaculation. And it's unfortunate that so many men aren't taught that, and that we create a society that makes it really accessible to focus on the ejaculation part and not the building the world that you wish to see and creating great impact on a societal level. It's really easy to do this one and you'll feel the immediate satisfaction. It's harder to do this one, and it takes sustained dedication, which is what you'd want of any great lover as well. I digress. But going back to what are you attracted to truly when you're fantasizing and romanticizing, obsessing about this person, what are you attracted to truly? How can you celebrate more of that within yourself? I felt this huge level of relief. I'm free. I'm back to being myself. After I went through noticing that I was future orienting around somebody, I'm not available for that anymore. Basically, every single morning I pull from a few decks, and one of these decks I really love. It was given to me by a friend. It's called the Great Goddess Oracle deck by Lucy Cavendish, and she combines a whole bunch of different goddesses from different periods. And this one came to me a number of times in a week, so definitely meant tune into it. Blow they Wealth, a Welsh goddess who is the Lady of Nine Flowers. I really love the illustration here. I think it's so beautiful. I think this deck is gorgy. So I'm going to read from the book, the booklet of guidance on her. She who refuses to be possessed. Lady Wealth speaks. If you were captured and made to forget all you've been, would you allow the enslaved, or would you slowly awaken and rebel from the path others have forced your feet upon? I came from 3 worlds, moving between all, choosing my form. I dwell inside the flowers of my forests, flew with the owls at night and danced amongst the wildflowers in the light. I am the green cord of nature, woven in many forms, the impulse of life and freedom. I am night and day, petals and claws, scents and hunts, the fierce joy of life fully lived. I am all the contradictions of your humanity, and I reject the world forced upon me. You will see me garland in 9 flowers, broom, meadow sweet, oak blossom, primrose, burdock, bean, nettle, chestnut, and hawthorn. I urge you to seek your independence, to make choices to love, to reach for liberties, to place no life over yours. I am hunter, maiden, flower, owl. I am air, breath, wind, and movement, free to travel and to still, to slow and to hasten, to dance amidst the meadows and to rip the petals from their homes. I am the light and the dark, the flight of liberty, of growth, sweet smells, and grounded bliss. I cannot be owned. I am no one's possession. I am the maiden of flowers and owls. I was not made. Spellcraft trapped me. Why would I not rebel? I am beautiful transgression. Why would I follow the laws made by men? How can a plant being made flesh feel what I'm supposed to? I am green eyes, flower-strewn hair, willowy limbs. I stumble with language, for I seek the sun and the light, and I dream of being back in the forest. I am so much more than the created wife, a lulaw grifts. I am flowers, I am owl. Have at the ready your claws, my child. Take flight at night. Above all else, do not be possessed. So I love that I received this guidance multiple times this week. It is very Aquarius sun and rising, which I am, and I think it's just really important for all of us in this Aquarian era to really lean into, do not be possessed by the systems, by the structures, by the obsessive thought. Do not be possessed by your own mind, the matrix, also within us, right? We can see that, oh no, I don't like the patriarchy and the systems outside of us. And then we actually internalize that and we create restrictions on ourselves. And one of the big ones is around love. We're often taught that love is control, love is being possessed by somebody, obsessed with them and being enmeshed and creating a container. And we express love that way to other people when we obsess about them. We are creating this confinement. We don't want that for ourselves. We don't want that for others. We want to be able to love with a level of freedom. We want to give permission to other people to make their individual free will choices in the way that they want to move through the world. Love is not control. It's not possession. Love is freely expressed. I was listening to another podcast episode, and this was on Take Back Your Mind, and it was a renunciate monk talking about her understanding of people's priorities. She had a retreat, and she welcomed people to come, and she said, "How many of you happy to be here?" And everyone was like, "Yeah." Yogis like, "Yeah, we're so happy to meditate and be here." And then she asked again, "Okay, imagine that I locked these doors, bolted them shut. How many of you are happy to be here?" And immediately those hands dropped. Because we want the choice to be where we choose to be. We want choice. We want free will. It's one of our highest desires in this lifetime, to feel liberation. We cannot have love without liberation. We have to love in a way that allows freedom of choice. It doesn't mean that we choose people who are going to philander with other people. We just want people to feel that they choose us, and we want to choose people back. We want to choose monogamy. We want to choose whatever constructs come with our relationship dynamic, whatever you decide on, to each their own. I'm sending you so much love in the days ahead, and continually opening your heart to people from a real grounded place. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, support this channel. And if you're listening on audio, give a 5-star review, super quick and easy. I'm sending you so much love, and I appreciate you being here.